a huge shout out to my mentor, Dr. Alex Shustari, who designed and is the principal investigator of this trial. And an expert in rare melanomas. It is a really hard space to do clinical trials in with such a rare cancer. Mucosal melanoma accounts only for about 1% to 2% of cases of melanoma in the US. That's a different demographic to our Asian colleagues who see a much more like 20-25% of their melanoma cases. But it's a rare and aggressive subtype. It doesn't have the same features, lower TMB, lower rate of BRAF mutations, all these kind of structural variants that make it just a more resistant cancer to our standard treatments in melanoma being immunotherapy. So both with PD-1 monotherapy and with combination therapy, we don't have great evidence because it's hard to do trials in these groups. So it's both subgroups out or our retrospective analyses. But we see a less, our patients with mucosal melanoma do less well stage for stage and also respond less to our immunotherapies that we have. So there's a real unmet need for these patients. And I think that this study is built on data that came out of China for the combination of PD-1 and VEGF inhibitor Axitinib, which has been shown in China, both in the metastatic setting first line and in the neoadjuvant setting, that targeting VEGF in mucosal melanoma has a clinical and biological rationale. So this is a study, phase 2, single center, single arm study as well. 20 patients were enrolled and received Nivolumab and Axitinib. We saw a 45% objective response rate. So it met its primary endpoint as a study. That's 9 patients. And for the patients who responded, the median duration of their response was about 14 months. So while the overall progression-free survival was about 6.5 months, the median survival hasn't yet been reached. So that's with 19 months of follow-up. So, really encouraging efficacy in a group of patients with very few clinical options. And I think that what the design of this study, what's really unique and fantastic about it is that it tagged on after that phase 2, a phase 1b for patients on progression. So, about 70% of our patients progressed on this trial to date. We still have patients on the first doing really well. But for the patients who progress, they could enroll in the phase 1b section and receive either the addition of Ipilimumab, so at 1 milligram per kilogram for 4 doses, while continuing on the Axitinib and Nivolumab, or be or go to radiation with SBRT. And this was chosen based on the type of progression. So obviously patients we chose for radiation are people with single sites of progression, and people who got Ipilimumab was with more diffuse progressive disease. And what we've shown, that is really with the primary endpoint of safety. And we've shown that it's safe to combine Ipilimumab with the Nivolumab and Axitinib in 5 patients. And we had 1 patient who had a response. And we had 2 patients who combined radiation with that. And we had 1 responder there. So I think, a glimmer of efficacy in a very small group, but overall a very safe. There were 2 grade 3 toxicities in that phase 1b or the triplet arm, and that they were both hepatitis in the Ipilimumab. So very much what we've seen with this drug and know well. And I think that this offers, a real, building in a more diverse Western population, showing data that's very similar to what our Chinese colleagues have shown, and offers, a potential option for our mucosal melanoma patients, but really should be the data to bring us to a trial where we compare it to immune checkpoint inhibitor therapy. And I'm hopeful that we can figure out what is best for these patients and fill an unmet need.